Good afternoon or good evening. Welcome to another Conversation at the Table. I am Chad Bresson, pastor of the Table of Los Fresnos. How's your Tuesday been? And what's occupying your mind this evening? We went to Home Depot. I'm going to try and get this out of here. We went to Sam's, we went to Home Depot, we got back, and in our backyard, a mama cat with kittens. Even with all the power washing and all the stuff going on, we got power washing going on, yard work, tree trimming, Luke's graduation celebration coming up, all that. And this mama kitten decides this mama cat is deciding that our yard is where she wants to have kittens. So anybody want some kittens? Here in Los Fresnos, we got kittens. I think there's 5. And they're not ours. I have no idea where this mama cat came from. I don't think I've seen her before here in these parts. So who knows? Who knows what's going on there? But anyway, is it just me, or has the neighborhood cat population gone nuts during COVID? It seems like in just the last couple of months, just about every night there's some sort of cat fight we can hear in the neighborhood. And that's only been in the last like 2 or 3 months. So I just wonder does COVID have something to do with it? I don't know. And then there was in our yard, or at least either our yard or across the street, there was a possum as big as a small dog. During the COVID shutdown, he went to possum heaven. He met his demise with a car, apparently, because we saw him in just the last few weeks for the last time. Interesting. So that's an update on the wildlife here in Los Fresnos. Oh yeah, I forgot. Those great kiskadees. You have any of those in your backyard here in Los? We do. They come in the morning, especially. I think they're in a tree next door. And throughout the morning, it was noisy. And if you've ever heard a kiskadee, they're not exactly something pleasant to listen to. Anyway, wildlife in deep South Texas. Our topic Sunday was Jesus' temptation. That's where we are again tonight. Matthew 4, 1 through 11. And again, part of the backdrop for that is Jesus has been led out into the wilderness by the Spirit after his baptism. And at his baptism, he is declared to be the Son of God. That's a big highlight. And yet, the big highlight is followed by him being led out to be tempted by the devil. And he is at the very end, the very last verse of chapter 3 in Matthew is, this is my beloved Son. This is the one whom I love, and the one who the Father believes to be well pleased. That's the declaration. Now, we're not going to spend time with the baptism, but we are going to look at something coming out of the baptism into the temptation that has something to do for us tonight, even at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday in Los Fresnos. We are focused on the temptation, and in the temptation, Jesus is the Son of God, and he is living out Israel's destiny. Jesus has spent 40 days and 40 nights going without food in the wilderness. And of course, Israel spent 40 years in their wilderness, many times going without food. And when Israel went without food, a lot of times that was all part of their temptations. They did not handle that very well. So Jesus is led into the wilderness to be tempted. And then the question becomes, what kind of Son of God is Jesus? Will he always have divine favor? Is the Father always going to be pleased of Jesus? Just what kind of Son of God is he? Is he going to be the kind of son that, like Israel, falls and fails? Israel failed big time. She lost her homeland. So what kind of son? Further, there are hints throughout Matthew that this Jesus who is coming out of this baptism and being led into the wilderness, he's a little more than just a son or a typical son. We already know from Matthew chapter 1 that his birth is a virgin birth. That's not a typical birth. And then we're told in that same chapter that this son is coming to save his people from their sins. Again, not exactly the kind of son that we're used to hearing about. So, virgin birth, coming to save his people from their sins. There is something different about this son. And oh, by the way, this son is worshipped by kings. That happens, and only God is worshipped. So what do we make of this son? What kind of son is he? Well, we're about to find out in short order. This is what Matthew says in Matthew 4. After Jesus had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. Then the tempter approached him and said, if you are the Son of God, if you're the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread. So he fasts 40 days and 40 nights. He's hungry. And then the temptation starts. And very first thing, if you are the Son of God. That didn't take long. So, there's the tempter approaching Jesus, which, by the way, is an interesting choice of words. Jesus is led into the wilderness to be tempted. And it's the tempter that approaches. You almost get the feeling like Jesus is bait here. He's led out by the Spirit to be tempted, and then you see the tempter coming along and tempting, just like had been expected. First words out of Satan's mouth then, if you are the Son of God. And I want to know, how does he know that? How does Satan know that he has been declared to be the Son of God? We're not told. Was he at the baptism? Again, Matthew is tying, if you are the Son of God, that immediately ties what's happening in the temptation to the baptism. But there's still this question about Satan. How does he know? This places Satan and Jesus squarely in the baptism story. There's something with Satan going on there. And certainly if Satan is not there, he's had 40 days to hear about it. But anyway, the grand declaration of the baptism is the very last words of chapter 3. And again, this is what it says. This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. The very next spoken words are, if you are the Son of God. So we've noted that this temptation isn't simply Jesus living out Israel's destiny, but it's also Adam's. This right here, this idea that he comes through this baptism, this is my beloved Son, with whom I'm well pleased. And then the very next voice, almost immediately, is, if you are the Son of God. There are hints of the garden here. In the garden, no sooner had God declared a certain tree off limits, and there is a serpent over here talking to Eve, challenging that very idea. Did God really say you can't eat from that tree? If you are the Son of God, almost immediately, all of a sudden, here's the devil. Here's that serpent. Immediately challenging that idea. If you are the Son of God. You see, the devil's going to show up and he attacks the declaration. And by the way, he does so offering food, just like the garden. Command these stones be turned to bread. In fact, he doesn't attack this declaration of Jesus to be the Son of God once. He does it twice. Again, Jesus rebuffs Satan in the whole, with a statement about man and bread and God. And then Satan takes him to a pinnacle of a temple. And the very next words out of his mouth, if you are the Son of God, throw yourself down. If you're the Son of God. Again. So, what we need to understand is, as we come into this text, both Adam and Israel in the Old Testament are known as sons of God. Adam is a son of God. Israel is a son of God. And those two, Israel and Adam, blew it. Totally failed to respond to temptation in faith. And both dismissed God's speech and His word as being enough for them. Both Adam and Israel wanted more than God's word. They wanted something more than God himself. That was part of their temptations. In fact, sonship, being God's son, wasn't enough for Adam or for Israel. You know, see, they wanted to be unshackled in both instances. They want to be unshackled from God and his promises. They want to do their own thing. They're in pursuit of something other than God. So in these first two temptations, he's not even subtle. If you are the Son of God, be less than satisfied with God's word. Be less than satisfied with being a son. Be less than satisfied with your Father. You know, change the rocks into bread. And if you're the Son of God, throw yourself down. Save yourself. God's going to save you. Be less than satisfied with God and his provisions. You know, that second temptation, you know, Satan's really aiming for the spectacular. You know, be less than satisfied with God's word. Be less than satisfied with God's provision. Just throw yourself down. Make God do something great with you if you're God's son. You see, Satan challenges the notion that God can be found in the mundane. Only God can show up and do the spectacular, apparently. And Jesus again answers that particular temptation with another quote from Deuteronomy, "Do not test God," which is exactly what Israel did in her hunger, actually in her thirst. Exodus 17. Moses says, you tested God when you weren't satisfied with the water and the bread. So do not test God. That's the flip side of faith. That's unbelief. Being satisfied with less than God is unbelief. So, what kind of son is Jesus? What kind of son is he? Well, this son, unlike Adam and Israel, he's willing to go to the mat for God's revelation of himself in his word. And if that's enough, what's interesting is, you know, Jesus never once responds to Satan, and he could have. He never once responds to Satan's accusation. If you are the Son of God, you don't find anywhere in the temptation where Jesus says, you know what, I am God's son. He doesn't. He simply appeals to the word in his response to Satan. Even his last response, "Go away, Satan," which incidentally, you know, if you're looking for something divine here, Satan goes away at Jesus' command. But even then, Jesus is not pronouncing himself divine. He's not saying, "Go away, Satan, I am God's son." He doesn't say that. He simply makes a comment about who is truly to be worshipped. You see, he is staking everything on God's word. The external word. The word that gives life. The word that gives grace. The word that sustains life. The word that produces good works. The word that forgives. Jesus stakes everything on that. And we noted last night, we get to the cross, we get to the mockers, and this same phrase shows up, "If you are the Son of God." And again, we can hear Satan through the, you know, they're the mouthpiece for Satan here. "If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross." And what's interesting about "come down from the cross," you take that, "If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross," you start to get the hint that what they're saying is, if you are the Son of God, remember what the temptation was? If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down from here and God will save you. It's the same thing here. If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down from the cross. God will save you. The language is hinting that the mockers are mouthpieces of Satan. And again, there is a response from Jesus, only this time the response is no response. This time Jesus doesn't answer. The only answer for the temptation at the cross, this very same temptation that shows up as Jesus is dying, the only answer for that temptation is to die. Is to die. And die Jesus does. And you know how Matthew ends his crucifixion story? This is amazing. You know how Matthew ends his crucifixion story? Here's how it ends. when the centurion and those with him who were keeping watch over Jesus saw the earthquake and the things that had happened, they were terrified and said, "Truly, this man was the Son of God." So years later, and if we're reading Matthew chapters later, years later, Satan has his answer. The world has the answer. What kind of son is Jesus? You know, Satan all along has been challenging him. If you are the Son of God, if you are the Son of God, and we get to the very end and Jesus dies. And on the lips of the Roman executioner, not Israel, not the disciples, not Israel's religious leaders, not Jesus' friends, a pagan Roman, a non-religious type, a Gentile. Truly, this man was the Son of God. The definitive answer of the cross for all time. That's Satan's answer. If you are the Son of God, oh yeah, he is. The Son of God comes and he dies to save his people from their sins. So what kind of Son of God is Jesus? He is the Son of God. He is the kind of a son that would save his people from their sins by going all the way to the cross and finishing it. It's that kind of son. He's the kind of son that would stake his entire life and his entire mission on God's revelation of himself in his word, to the point that he would die for those he came to save. He is that kind of son. So it's very easy for us, and we often do this with Jesus, we often do this with the temptation story especially. We come to the temptation story and we see the declaration at the baptism that Jesus is the Son of God, and then we see Satan attacking that, if you are the Son of God, and we immediately think that the temptation is all about Jesus proving that he is the Son of God. That Satan needs proof, that the world needs proof, that Matthew's readers need proof, as if Jesus gets to the end of the temptation and he wins it all, he rebuffs all the temptations with the word, and he finally says, "Look, I showed you. I really am the Son of God." But again, like I said, he doesn't say that. But that also, if that's all we're getting out of this story, if the temptation is simply there to do nothing but prove that Jesus is the Son of God, then we've missed the point. It's not simply, is Jesus the Son, but what kind of Son? Again, Adam was the Son of God. Israel was the Son of God, and they blew it. They failed. And Jesus is the kind of a son who stakes everything on the Father, stakes everything on the Word, and is doing all of these things perfectly because we face the same temptations and we fail. We blow it. We need a champion to go out there and take on Satan with the Word and win it for us, because we are failures. Because we don't. We haven't. And we won't. We have to have Jesus as our champion in this story. Jesus is that kind of son. You know, he's the kind of a son like Isaac, by the way. Remember Isaac? Willingly laying down his life for the father as a substitute. We need that kind of son. And we need that kind of son who's laying down his life so that our old Adam can die. We need our old Adam to die. We need our old Adam, a new Adam, raised to life. Old Adam dies, new Adam is raised to life. We have to have that. We have to have Jesus doing that for us, and then we need that to happen for us because of what Jesus has done. So Jesus is being tempted for us. Jesus is withstanding and defeating Satan in the temptation for us. Jesus is that kind of son. For you, for me. So listen to the words of the pagan Roman military officer. truly, this man is the Son of God. See, you and I need that kind of son so that we can rest tonight. We need that kind of son in order to be our best tomorrow. If I don't have that kind of a son, I'm a wreck. Because I know what's waiting for me tomorrow. More temptation. More giving in to temptation. I need to have a son that goes to the mat for the Father with the Word against Satan and wins. I have to have that. Yes, it's proving that he is the Son of God. At the same time, it's showing us what the Son does. It's showing us what kind of son he is. A son who came to save his people from their sins. You see, I'm the one who's always less satisfied. I'm not satisfied. I'm not satisfied in the Word. To me, the Word is not enough. I want more. I want my own way. I want my own things in my own time, on my own terms. I don't want anybody getting in the way of what I've got going on. I deserve this life. I deserve this moment. I deserve to be one more place ahead of myself in line, and that I'm not there because a lady decided that she was going to cut in front of me and she knew what she was doing. I deserve that spot. You see, the Word isn't enough. I fail. I blow it. I need a champion who's going to do it perfectly for me. That's the kind of a son I need in order for me to rest well tonight. And so do you. That is tonight's conversation at the table. Join us again. Tomorrow we'll have something here as a conversation at the table. Also join us Thursday. We got a Zoom Bible study. You're more than welcome to join us right here on the Table Facebook page. We'll have information on how you can get the details for the Zoom meeting ID as well as the password. And then Friday we'll have another conversation at the table. Saturday we'll have a Mythbuster right here on Facebook. And then Sunday, join us live, 10:30. We have our worship service from the Los Fresnos Community Center. You're welcome to join us there, or if you're not comfortable with that and you want to stay home, we'll be right here online at 10:30. Hope you're having a great Tuesday evening. And again, let Jesus be your son. Even as you lay your head down tonight, rest in Him. Remember, we are loved by Jesus for the love of Los Fresnos.